The Decepticon Justice Division, the Sword of Vengeance, forged by Megatron himself to destroy and burn anyone who disagrees with the Decepticon ideology. Just the mention of Megatron's executioners is enough to make the hearts of Cybertronians, hardened in the fiercest battles, tighten with fear. Most of those who end up on the Decepticon Division's blacklist prefer to end their lives rather than fall into their merciless hands. Megatron's inquisitors don't just kill. They break the body, the soul, and the very essence. They have no ideals other than the Decepticon ideals. They communicate in the language of violence, and their victims become the most eloquent warnings to others. Today, we will talk about Megatron's punishing hand, his most brutal warriors. We will discuss their abilities, alt modes, and real names. And under no circumstances should you condemn the Decepticon ideology, because the Justice Division may come for you too. In any case, I wish you an enjoyable viewing experience. The Decepticon Justice Division, or simply D.J.D, is a gathering of psychopaths, sadists, and thugs, for whom war has become a convenient excuse to inflict pain. They are the true embodiment of inevitable and agonizing death. And as we know, death is equal for all, just as Decepticon justice is. Once you're on their list, your time in the land of the living will rapidly shorten, and death will be breathing down your neck. The Inquisitors will pursue their victim like a shadow, never resting for a moment until they dissolve the soul of the enemy in torture and suffering. The 5 main members of the Justice Division took their names from the first 5 cities that fell before the Decepticon power during the Great War. Meet Tarn, Helex, Kaon, Tesarus, and Tzus. If one of them perishes, their name and place are passed on to a worthy replacement. The only constant is Tarn, the leader of the D.J.D, a living legend. The D.J.D is a force that everyone must reckon with, for they are strong enough to destroy even the most renowned warriors of Cybertron. What can be said? Even the Phase Sixers, the strongest of the strong, capable of destroying entire planets alone, prefer to fear them. And rightly so. Take, for example, the Phase Sixer Black Shadow, who was responsible for the destruction of 3 Wreckers, 3,003 Autobots, and 3 billion inhabitants of the planet Rigel. Even he couldn't escape the punishing gaze of the Inquisitors and died a horrific and agonizing death. The same fate befell an alternate version of another Phase Sixer, Overlord, who was beheaded. As for Shockwave, he preferred to trade his life to Tarn in exchange for 31 Decepticons who were already on the D.J.D's blacklist. Many, upon learning they are on Tarn's list, choose to end their lives by their own hand, rather than fall into the Inquisitor's grasp. They are a true punishing machine for Decepticon deserters and those who choose to defect to the enemy. Once this is known, these individuals immediately sign their own death sentence by entering the D.J.D's blacklist. For maximum effectiveness in dealing with enemies, they rely on a massive database that contains information on every Decepticon, from the most notable member of the Conclave to the lowliest worker. In combat against enemy groups, they strictly follow Megatron's plan. First, block communications or delay the signal, then attack, retreat, and finish by isolating the target. The Justice Division is quite creative in their approach to destroying their enemies. They even have their own musical theme, the Empyrean Suite. D.J.D enjoys killing, screaming their victims. They are fanatics of the Decepticon movement, and even Megatron, when he decided to take the path of redemption and renounce the Decepticon movement, and ended up on their list. The ideological father became their #1 target, since Tarn included him in the list of deserters. Of course, Megatron was able to defeat his creation, but not without the use of antimatter. But that's a story for another time. Now, it's time to get to know each member of Tarn's group up close. Helex is a very unusual Decepticon. He has 2 pairs of arms. His chest is a melting pot, which he uses to subject his victims to terrible torture. Helex was also noticed that he removes the brain module from the victim and places it in the poor guy's mouth, hoping that he will eat the brain. This character has the alt mode of Harvester, and his real name is Crucible. Kaon, a communications officer responsible for maintaining the list of targets. It's important to note that they strictly follow their list, carefully observing the priority order. Their missions are always clearly defined, and they almost never stray from the designated path. However, in extremely rare cases, the Inquisitors have shifted priorities, moving someone up or down in the list to fulfill a special assignment. It's believed that there were only 2 such instances. In the second case, for example, Megatron himself decided to move Grimlock up the list when he betrayed the Decepticons and switched sides to the Autobots. The first case, however, seems to be a mystery, with the details left unsaid. If you know more, feel free to correct it in the comments. Kaon is very attached to his pet, who turned out to be the Autobot Dominus Ambus. Once, Dominus had been spying on the D.J.D, but when he was discovered, he was subjected to a lobotomy. Stripped of his mind, Dominus was locked in his beast alt mode. Kaon became his only friend. Interestingly, it was this bond that ultimately led to Kaon's downfall. Kaon's true name is Amp, and his alt mode is an electric chair. Tesarus is a grumpy and willful, eternally bored Decepticon. In his chest is a terrible weapon, a death funnel, a toothy mouth that can grind everything in its path. When an enemy is inside the death funnel, their flesh is ground into metallic dust. This weapon is not just a deadly machine, but an instrument of torture. Tesarus can control the degree of destruction, which allows him to enjoy every second of torment, stretching out the suffering of his victim for an endless time. The weapons themselves, located inside, are blades forged from the rarest and most durable metal of the Ununtrium. These blades guarantee that any Transformer who finds himself in the mouth of Tesarus will be cut to pieces, no matter how much strength and protection they have. His real name is Scissorsaw, and here is his terrifying alt mode. Voss is part of a faction where each of his companions is a psychopath and a killer, but his methods and abilities go beyond mere brutality. His terrifying feature is his face. He can remove it, revealing a mass of sharp, rotating tools beneath, each designed to drill into his victims and pierce their flesh. This Decepticon speaks exclusively in the ancient Cybertronian language, which is nearly extinct. His alt mode is a sniper rifle, and his real name is Forstock. Tarn is a ruthless and fanatically loyal leader of the Decepticon Justice Division. His devotion to Megatron and the Decepticon ideology is so intense that he wears a mask resembling the faction symbol, not just as a tool of fear, but as a reflection of his faith and allegiance. As stated in the comics, Tarn is one of the most powerful Cybertronians and is on par with legendary Phase Sixers like Black Shadow, Overlord, and Sixshot. This means that even legends like Optimus and Megatron cannot match him in strength. Tarn's unique ability lies in his terrifying power to affect the sparks of his enemies with his voice. On a regular basis, he evaluates the effectiveness of his subordinates. He praises them, gives constructive advice. However, behind this leader's facade lies a dark addiction. Tarn is a true transformation addict. Before his victims die, he forces them to transform, as the transformation module is easier to extract when it's still warm. His real name is Damus, but in the world of Transformers, he is also known as Glitch due to his unique ability to affect technology from birth. His alt mode is a massive tank, symbolizing his physical power and destructive potential. And we also can't forget the Minicon Nickel, who serves as a medic and technical specialist for the D.J.D. The Decepticon Justice Division. 3 words that make even the bravest warriors tremble with fear. Their cruelty, strength, and ruthlessness know no bounds. That's all for today. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this episode, and subscribe to the channel. If you want more videos about Transformers, make sure to leave a comment below. See you all soon.